morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I hope you guys been having a wonderful week. I know I have. Last weekend was so much fun. I visited DC, which was a blast. Say hi to my grandfather, ate some sushi, and got to see Dune 2, which if you haven't seen the movie yet, it is phenomenal. Utterly fantastic. But it is not what we're going to be talking about today. Because of recent news, especially with Rooster Teeth being shut down, which is a travesty on itself, I decided that we needed to look into a very interesting subject, which is web series and how they have evolved to what they are now. Now, many of you are probably asking yourself, what is a web series? Is it like a TV series? What is it? Which is understandable. A web series is a series that is usually done independently by a indie studio or a small group. This can be done through animation or live action. There's actually quite a few live action web series out there. Some of them good, some of them are okay. Now with that basics out of the way of what is a web series, we can definitely dive into the episode. For context's sake, we will focus on the animation part of web series because not only is it much more interesting, but has evolved more significantly than its live action counterpart. I would also like to add that I will be counting abridged series as part of the web series genre because not only were a lot of web series now inspired by abridged series, it played a significant part in evolving the culture and showing that you could do these types of works and live independently because of them. But you're probably wondering what is an abridged series. I will be explaining about that later when I get to that part. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. In the past 20 years, how animated projects are released and distributed has changed. Before, you would need to somehow pitch your animated project to a studio, get it approved for a pilot, make the pilot, get it greenlit, and hope to God that it's popular enough for an entire series to be ordered and that it can continue so you can tell your story of whatever animated project you wanted to do. This was a huge process, especially when most of the time, whether a cartoon gets renewed was also based around toy sales. If you look at Teen Titans, the original series, the reason why it was canceled was because the toys weren't being as sold as much. Heck, Static Shock suffered the same fate. The toys weren't being sold as much and they had to go. You would be surprised how much toy sales definitely help with movies as well. The original Batman series with Michael Keaton, after the second one, McDonald's got mad that the Penguin was so horrific that they couldn't make a toy out of it. So McDonald's complained to Warner Brothers, and that's how we got a Jerry Bruckheimer. Yeesh. Anyway, back to the point. With technology evolving, this process of how animated projects got greenlit ended up not being the only way to get your animated project out into the world. In the early 2000s, many video sites began to pop up, and this opened the world to videos that were usually reserved for your TV could now be uploaded online with anybody with a camera and the know-how how to upload it. And eventually in 2005, this became much easier with YouTube appearing, making not only, of course, the process easier, but eventually becoming the only hub to watch and upload videos. Yeah, YouTube was there in 2005, and before, I have no idea where people went. Honestly, I didn't really have access to a computer until 2006, so that's probably saying how old I am, even though I don't want to think about it. Anyway, thus, it allowed for many to make their own animated projects and upload them onto any video hub they could find. And none, and I mean none, were as popular in the early 2000s than Red vs. Blue. This was one of the first web series to take off, made in 2003 by a group of friends who loved Halo. And it told the story of two armies in Blood Gulch, the Red Army and the Blue Army, in their never-ending war. This show, at the time, was amazing and was considered the pinnacle of web series. And it was very different from other animated projects that came before it because this was known as I'm probably going to butcher the name, a machinima. Basically, a machinima is a use of animated projects that used game engines and mostly nothing else to make a series. And with Halo having Forge early on, this gave everybody the opportunity to do something like this. This series was recorded through a series of Xboxes and microphones and put together masterfully. For what it was, you didn't think twice about how it was made. When I was watching it, I was like, this is done perfectly. I mean, the game mechanics were there. If you loved Halo, you recognized a lot of the stuff. And the fact that they were able to express their emotions, what they were feeling, how the environment affected them, with nodding up and down and some expert movements, and not to mention the voice acting, was incredible. You could really feel the emotions with barely any animation on any of them besides the ones available during the game. And it worked. Red vs. Blue kicked off the start of Rooster Teeth, which, because of their success, was implemented into future Halo games and grew to the point where Rooster Teeth can do other animated projects and more. I remember going onto Halo Reach and trying to find out where I could see Caboose, where I can see Sarge, where I can see some of the other characters like Church. It was amazing and it was fun, showing that a group of guys or a group of people could do so much for a community that they loved, and the fact that the community loved them back. Their success showed that traditional methods of releasing animated projects were not the only medium to be successful. I mean, think about it. Rooster Teeth became a huge company to the point where Warner Brothers ended up buying them. AT&T had them first, but the fact that the company grew so big was amazing and a testimony of this process. And like I said, it sucks that it's being shut down for tax purposes, because honestly, Rooster Teeth has other web series, which I will talk about in a little bit, but are just as amazing. And it sucks that what's going to be happening to them is up in the air. But as stated before, Rooster Teeth's success inspired others to attempt to do the same. One of these series was called Death Battle, a web series in which it attempted to answer the basic question that was on every nerd's mind. Heck, not even nerds, everybody's mind. Who would win a death battle? And this would pit characters from different worlds against each other. They will talk about their feats, their statistics, and other aspects to answer the question. And at the end, they would animate the fight between the two characters for our entertainment. This included Kratos versus Spawn, Mario versus Sonic, Luigi versus Tails, Goku versus Superman, Deadpool versus Deathstroke, and many, many more. In the beginning, the videos were not that long, less than 10 minutes, with two announcers called Wiz and Boomstick. We didn't know anything about these guys or what they looked like. But as the years went by, the videos became longer, the animation became smoother, and they were able to add other aspects, such as original fight music during the death battle itself. And they were even able to get voice actors, given not the original voice actors for these characters, but were able to hire sound-alikes to come in and voice these characters for the fight. They ended up expanding the lore of the announcers to the point where we actually got to see what they looked like. And they had their own personality. As this web series became popular, a lot of people who worked with them ended up leaving their current jobs to basically do this full time. It was a dream come true for a lot of these people because they loved it. And they made it possible for fans to keep watching these videos, help them buy the viewership so they can get money that way, donate money, buy merch, attribute through Patreon. The show ended up being bought by Rooster Teeth, and they were given a budget to be able to do more and more videos. And again, this showed that it was possible to do these types of projects and become self-sufficient. And like I said, because of the shutdown, whether or not Death Battles is going to be coming back is unknown, and it sucks. I was such a huge fan. I hate using the past tense to describe Death Battle and to describe Red vs. Blue, but it is what it is, and that's how we got to this point. But before moving from the late 2000s to the 2010s, we need to discuss a form of web series that has become widely popular, especially to those who didn't have a large animation budget or knew how to do as much. Seriously, we have some fantastic writers out there and some video editors, but these guys don't know how to do animation. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but they took what they could and made amazing stuff. And this type of web series is called Abridged. Now, an Abridged series is where you take a cartoon that's already been established, already been aired, either entirely or it's still going on, but there's enough episodes for you to work with, and you basically revoice the characters but with different dialogue. Think of it like a parody. You basically, let's say, take Batman the Animated Series, follow the same storyline, but the dialogue is different as if it was a parody. Telling the same story but in a different fashion, changing some characters' attitudes and characteristics while keeping the story the same. This was usually done to add more comedy to a show that was more serious in nature. The most popular one out of all the Abridged series would be Dragon Ball Z Abridged. This retelling of the story would follow the same story of Goku as he fought Vegeta, Frieza, the androids, and Cell, but in a more comedic fashion. A lot of characters were surprisingly more fleshed out than they were in the freaking original show and made to be more human. Goku was made more of an idiot and a man-child, but he was still Goku. Piccolo was made into a more serious yet awkward alien. Neo was fantastic. Gohan was made more into a mature kid for his age, yet oblivious to some of the aspects of life, and Krillin was made into the butt of a lot of the jokes, but was made hilarious. It seemed like it shouldn't work, but it did. A lot of these characters had their own arcs that were very different from their original counterpart, and people loved it. It was like a love letter for the fans who could appreciate it for what it was as much as they could appreciate the original show. The show was extremely popular to where some people preferred it to the original, and I don't blame them. Some of the characters were written a lot better than the counterparts in Dragon Ball Z, especially in Dragon Ball Super. And this project, Abridged, was made by Team 4-Star, who, because of the donation and the money that was being made through views, became a popular YouTube channel. And they were also able to make another Abridged series called Hellsing Abridged, which wasn't as popular as DBZA, but it was amazing. I remember watching it and laughing out loud because these characters were hilarious. And it inspired me to watch the original. I actually saw Hellsing Abridged before seeing Hellsing Ultimate, the series which it was based upon. And with the popularity of their channel, in 2024, Team 4-Star has an estimated net worth of $2.52 million, which shows how profitable web series could be. In particular, the popularity of the show inspired others to make other abridged shows and even kickstarted a lot of voice actors' careers. One in particular was Chris, I'm probably gonna mispronounce this guy's name, Guerrero, who, after working with Team 4-Star, joined with Funimation Crunchyroll and did professional voice acting with them. You may recognize him as Ain's Own Goal from Overlord. Yeah, he in Team 4-Star, he basically voiced Cooler. So it's amazing. And if you didn't know that, go watch Cooler and Cooler Return in DBZA movies on YouTube, and you'll be able to recognize the voice. Because for a while, when I was watching Overlord, I was like, where have I heard this guy? I've heard him before, and it was bugging me to figure out where I heard him. And when I found out, I was like, this is incredible. But it goes to show you how inspiring these projects could be. Going back to other abridged shows, if you Google or YouTube your favorite show or anime and type abridged, you are probably guaranteed to find people trying to recreate the magic that was Dragon Ball Z Abridged. There's probably one series, in my opinion, that has succeeded in recreating that magic. And again, it's my opinion. And if you disagree with me or you have another series, it's probably because I haven't watched it. Honestly, it's been a while since I've seen a new abridged series that I actually liked. But the series that I'm talking about is Sword Art Online Abridged, which took the story of Kirito and made it so much funnier. Honestly, the fact that they gave Kirito more of a personality of a gamer than the anime did is amazing. I have laughed so much, and it's continuing again with what they're telling the story. They're on the second arc, the Elf Sign arc, and the one thing I forgot to mention is these series would be updated maybe once or twice a year, because not only did they have to take the time on trying to edit these videos, but also they had to fight with copyright. Because again, the animation is not their own. They had to redub and do a bunch of stuff, but make sure it was still within the rules of copyright to where they could upload it. So if you are wanting to do an abridged series, I would just Google the headaches, because there is a lot of downside in doing them, especially when it comes to copyright laws. But anyway, Abridged series has inspired other people to do different types of web series and doing their own animation instead of doing abridged, with usually established characters or their own characters. One creator who has been doing this for years was in fact inspired by Team 4-Star and their shorts when the Cell saga was still being abridged, which was Cell Versus. Team 4-Star did these shorts where they would bring in other characters such as Ash, Bobby from King of the Hill, and basically do some funny animation. And this person was inspired by that to make their own shorts of this concept. And this has evolved so much since then. And this person is Devil Artemis. They made their own series called Cell Versus, with him voicing almost all the characters and animating the videos himself, making it a pure parody where no copyright could touch it because he's doing most of the work, and these characters are so different from the original. And it's reported that this creator, who started off in 2012 with a channel worth 0, is now has an estimate net worth of $680,000. And he still makes videos to this day, and they're hilarious. I love them. And the fact that he can come up with so many different video ideas is incredible, and he can make a living doing off of this. It's just inspiring, something I would love to do. Heck, doing all this hard work and be able to live off that, every nerd, gamer, person's dream. It doesn't matter who you are. Doing what you love, making money out of it, and being able to do nothing but that, it's everybody's dream. And in the past 5 years alone, different creators have joined YouTube and tried their best in either becoming an independent studio or with their friends doing something independent, or heck, just doing it by themselves, trying to get on the scene and recreate the magic that other people have done, or doing something like putting their pilot on YouTube, having it get so many views and getting picked up by a distributor. In recent years, an animated project that did fantastic on YouTube with their pilot got picked up by A24 Pictures. And you probably guess which show I'm talking about, and that is Has Been Hotel. Its creator, I'm probably going to butcher the name, Vivine Madreno, made this animated project with a team independently, and their pilot for Has Been Hotel became so popular on YouTube that it is now a hit TV show on Amazon Prime. And it's not her only successful show. She has another show called Hell of a Boss, which is currently the only project uploaded exclusively to YouTube, which has other characters in the same universe with so many different personalities, music, and it is, I'm not gonna lie, amazing. And through this method of uploading on YouTube, basically showed people that your projects can grow and flourish through untraditional methods, that it's not the same as it was 20 years prior, showing that there is an audience for adult musical cartoons. Heck, if you have a new idea that people are probably going to laugh at, and it's an animated project or any project at all, do it. Because when Viv did this project, people were probably like, nobody wants to see an adult animated musical show. That's so dumb. And yet she proved them all wrong. With Has Been Hotel, it's an amazing show with great music and showing that, heck, if you have an idea that hasn't been done before, give it a whirl. You never know. It might go great. But besides trying to be picked up by a distributor and being aired on streaming services, other studios have remained independent and continue to upload their series onto YouTube, relying on donations, merch sales, Patreon, and views to get by. One of these studios is doing great work on YouTube, and this studio is called Glitch. They currently have 2 shows, which are amazing. Murder Drones, which is a horror comedy action series, and their newest one, The Amazing Digital Circus, which is like a psychological comedy show. And it had its first episode not too long ago. And it went so well that the independent studio decided to greenlit it for an entire series. And these series, because of the views, because of the donations that they've gotten, are able to work on a higher budget, which of course does mean it takes longer to make them. But because so many people love it and they're donating their time, their money to watch it and support them, are able to allow these studios to flourish with these projects and maybe create more as time goes by and become so big that they go from YouTube and be able to stream it in other places. And it's ironic because a lot of these creations would never have seen the light of day if they went through the traditional methods. And that's saying something, especially in recent years. As we've seen, animation has taken a hit, with projects being forced to end when they've had years of stories that they were able to do because of corporate greed or unknown reasons or for tax purposes. A great example is Warner Brothers. Shutting down Rooster Teeth isn't the first time they've done something because of corporate tax purposes. They've shelved other projects for the same purpose, such as Infinity Train, Final Space, and canned other animated projects just because they could. And it sucks because a lot of these creators thought they would have years to tell the story and be able to grow with fans, just for them to be shut down. Disney is not innocent in all this as well. They have canned animated projects because of their unwritten rule that no show could do more than 3 seasons because they don't want to pay anymore. And that sucks. A really good show that suffered because of this was Owl House. Even though that show was extremely popular, it was canned, and despite it being promised a 3rd season, it was shortened. Instead of having a full 24 episodes like other series before it, it only got 3 specials, which were amazing, but it sucked to see so much that we were about to miss out because of corporate greed. So a lot of studios try to get out in their own way to become independent and try to raise funds through fans. Because honestly, seeing how they're treated, I don't blame them. Having a project that you love, that if you've tried to shape in your own, only to have it canned by a studio because they decided, you know what, we need the tax break. It sucks. Honestly, the one studio that has been killing it with animated shows is Amazon. Honestly, if you would have told me 5-6 years ago that Amazon would be killing it in the animated zone, I wouldn't have believed you, especially in the adult animated shows, and allowing independent studios to make their mark. One said studio is the creators behind Vox Machina, which is an amazing show that was raised through independent means and is now super popular to where they can get donations or other means to get money to make more episodes. And it's interesting to see how web series has evolved to the point where it can be something that a person, a group of people, or a studio can do and make a living doing what they love. And again, it's inspiring. Now, before we end the episode, I want to list a few more independent projects that you guys should definitely check out on YouTube, because they're amazing. One of these projects is called Lack a Daisy. That is LACK space A space Daisy, which takes place in a world where humanoid cats rule, and it takes place during the recession where prohibition is high. It's a really good series. They have the pilot and it's fun. Another series that just recently came out is Port by the Sea, which is a dark adventure series where a dark force that was once trapped in the moon escaped, and 2 adventurers must go and search for pieces of the moon to undo their wrong. What they did, I have no idea. We have not gone far enough for that to see what's going on. Hopefully they're able to make more episodes and show us what the heck they did. Another show which is really cool is Ramshackle, which is about a trio of street rats trying to survive in their town. And if you're a fan of SCP, there is a series done very well, and it's still being made by a YouTuber called Evan Royalty, and a few of their episodes are awesome. So well animated, that's insane. And if you don't know what an SCP is, it's basically a horror-based genre based on creatures of supernatural, alien, or self-made in nature. It's actually pretty interesting. It's similar to creepypastas, but more. But yeah, I would definitely check a lot of these series out. Heck, even some of the ones I've said in this episode in the beginning. Check some of these projects out because they are cool, and if you have projects projects that you are trying to make, or you know some of animated projects that I haven't mentioned, please let me know down in the comments or wherever you can and advertise, because these independent studios definitely need to get the word out for their projects and become popular. Because if the next 20 years says something about the past 20 years, it's that we're going to get a lot more projects uploaded to YouTube and they're going to be amazing. But anyway, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoy and are inspired to check out some of the shows I mentioned before. Well, with that being said, sayonara, see you later, and have a blessed one. Goodbye.